Shadowboxing. It's an awesome way to train if you're doing it right. I'm watching lots of people on Instagram right now and they're not doing it right, and a lot of people don't know how to do it at all because they're brand new to this. So today I'm gonna give you 8 tips on how to get the most out of your shadowboxing. So welcome back to the channel. This is Dan Slobodan from First Strike Athletics. Thanks for coming to check out the video. I'm gonna give you 8 tips on shadowboxing, how to get the most out of your shadowboxing. I'm gonna go from very beginner friendly stuff into some slightly more advanced stuff, but all this is applicable to pretty much everyone. It's just stuff that you should be doing in your training pretty much regardless, no matter if you're shadowboxing, drilling, hitting the heavy bag, or whatever. If you're new to the channel and you want to get more tips, tactics, and techniques, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notifications. And if you enjoy the video, give it a like. All right, so like I was saying, shadowboxing is a great way to train if you're doing it right. All training, whether it's shadowboxing, sparring, hitting the heavy bag, it's all about instilling good habits and avoiding creating bad habits. So that's basically what we do today, just focusing on creating really good habits while we shadowbox. Okay, so tip number 1 is to fully extend and accelerate your strikes. I see a lot of people just kind of doing this thing here, and I'm not saying you shouldn't ever do that. There's some benefits to that, but especially if you're a beginner, you really need to focus on getting that full long range, full distance, rotating your hands over, if you're boxing, just throwing your punches. If you're doing elbows, like really going through, not just kind of going through the motions like half-assed, but really sinking into it. Make sure you're warmed up and make sure you're not gonna like overextend yourself or hyperextend your elbow or pull something, but you really should just be focusing on a nice long 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, turning everything over, elbow, elbow, elbow. Same with your knees, same with your kicks, okay? So full extension, full acceleration at the end of your strikes. Tip number 2 is making sure that your hands come back to your head. Again, I see a lot of people, they're just kind of going through the motion, they're half ranging out and they're half ranging back, they're not bringing it all the way back. So make sure, there's a really good tip I got from Mark Delagrati. He'd actually had us during our shadowboxing session at a seminar, was to smack our head. So as I throw a punch, I'm bringing my hands back. You can't really do fast combinations like this, but just doing that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and actually tapping your head. It has the added benefit of having a hand come back and hitting you. Even when you're doing this, you might feel a little bit of that flinch reflex. This is gonna help you keep your eyes open, keep sharp as you're doing this. So it's just one of those little extra things, a little bonus out of it. It's gonna help you kind of fight that flinch reflex. All right, number 3 is get yourself a ball and put it underneath your chin. This is super common, a lot of people know this already, but I'm always surprised by how many people don't know this, like a lot of beginning students. So just keeping the ball, putting it underneath your chin, and just throwing your punches from here. Again, it's gonna be a little bit harder. You're not gonna be able to do super fast ones. If you're doing Muay Thai and kickboxing, it's gonna be a little harder to like, throw your knees and your kicks and stuff like that. For just straight up punches and elbows, this is a really good tool to help you keep your chin down while you're shadowboxing. Super important, especially for beginners. Hey, tip number 4 is get in front of a mirror if you can. Being able to see yourself shadowbox is really, really good. If you don't have a mirror, get your phone, set it up, and record yourself and then watch it after. Usually what I have my beginning students do, let's say we're just gonna go through some basic punch strikes, is I'll have them in front of the mirror just throwing their jabs from here. Maybe do 3, and then they'll do 3 down here. And they're just looking for like little things, like making sure their chin's down, their shoulders coming up, their hands turned over, this hand's up nice and high. And they'll do it from all the different angles that they can, where they can see themselves. And there's no point in turning your back to the mirror, you can't see yourself anymore. And then I'll have them do it with the next punch from here. I'll have them do it on their hook, so 3 hooks from here, 3 hooks from here. And just being able to see everything you're doing in the mirror. And again, making sure your elbows up a little bit higher, your hands turned over, your hands here, your body's in the right position. Go slow with that one. Again, you don't need to go fast to get good training. There is a time for speed and for power and all that stuff. But when you're focusing, especially for beginners, on these basic techniques, make sure you're doing them right. Take your time, there's no rush. Okay, and if you can't get in front of a mirror, just get your phone, set it up, record yourself, and watch back with like a critical eye. Most of us are our own worst critics, so it shouldn't be a problem for some of you, but don't just go, oh yeah, I'm going so fast, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Make sure you're doing all the basics right. And again, just take your time. It might be simple combinations, jab, knee, reset, cross, switch knee, reset. Look for these little things, like did my heel go on the ground when I did my knee? Was my hand swinging back and coming back up to the right place? All these little details, these are super important. So really focus on the little things. Don't worry about the speed or how many punches you're throwing in a row. All right, so tip number 5, this is good for beginners, but really the intermediate people should really be doing this already. And if you're not, you should really focus on this. That's incorporating the 3 F's. That's feints, fakes, and footwork. So every combination or technique that you want to throw should be preceded by one of these. So if I'm just standing here in one spot and just going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, cross, uppercut, hook, cross, that's not bad. You know, as long as I'm doing it right, that's not bad. But as you get a little bit better with it, you should be using some footwork in between. If I throw my 1, 2, I circle to my right, and my 3, and I circle off to my left, jab, elbow, frame off, cross, okay? And also before I start my combinations, I should be using my feints and my fakes, so I can maybe fake low and come up back up high. Fake high and go low. Finish my combination and move off to the side. And then just general feints, just like little movements here, little stutter steps, changing your hand and changing your guard. Just these little general indications of movement. When you start building these into your combinations and you get really good at it, whether you're doing it on the pads or shadowboxing, you start doing it in sparring, it's a really good way to kind of disrupt your opponent's rhythm and to create opportunities to get in on them and land strikes cleanly. Tip number 6 is work on some specifics. Everyone has different goals. Everyone has different things that they need to work on. For some people, it might be using more teeps, more push kicks. So before every combination, you're gonna set up, throw a push kick, and then you'll finish with your punches. For some people, it might be going to the body more, so you're gonna be throwing a body punch every combination. It might be using some head movement, so I'm gonna use my head movement before I come in, and throw my 1, 2, and then go back to my head movement. It depends on what your goal is. I can't tell you what you need to work on, but just pick one thing, write it down, and make sure that's a big focus on at least 2 to 3 rounds of your shadowboxing. The only way to get better is by having a goal and having a specific goal and addressing it and approaching it the right way. You can't get better at something if you don't practice it. Tip number 7 is don't just worry about the offense, work your defense and work your counters. If I'm just throwing punches all the time, again, it's not bad, but if I parry a punch and come back with a 1, 2, or I slip and go to the body and come back upstairs, or I block a kick and then come back with a kick, this is gonna be more realistic, this is gonna be more congruent to what you're actually gonna be doing when you're doing pad works and drills and sparring. And these things can apply to bag work as well. If you're hitting a heavy bag, work your defense before you throw a combination, do some counter attacks. Again, it's just more specific to what you're gonna be doing in a real fight, so you may as well practice it. And so number 8 is to watch and emulate a fighter. Put up some fights on your TV or on your computer, you know, Glory Kickboxing, 1FC, Lions Fight, they all have tons of free stuff that you can watch online. And then just pick a fighter and emulate everything they're doing. Use their offense and their defense. This is great, it's gonna help you increase your fight IQ, it's gonna keep things more interesting, you already have a built-in timer. And it's just gonna keep your reaction time going too, because you're gonna try and emulate them as they're doing it. So if I'm watching, like say maybe a Bazooka Joe fight, he comes out, he kind of moves his head a little bit, throws a 1, 2, I'm gonna throw the 1, 2. He throws a cross hook uppercut, I'm gonna throw a cross hook and an uppercut. He blocks a kick, or he blocks a punch and comes back with a kick, I'm gonna do the same thing. So you start to learn new techniques and new ways of approaching a fight that you might not otherwise think of. So it's a great way to keep things interesting and to build your fight IQ.
All right, and that is it. Thank you very much for watching, folks. If you'd like to subscribe, hit the icon on the left. If you'd like to watch another video, click on the right. And I will see you in the next video.